It wasn't really until I didn't make the games in 2014 that I realized how much I wanted to be there and how hard I was willing to work for it. And that is when I started working with Bergeron, who's now my coach. And I started reading, like that summer that I didn't make the games, I started reading a lot of sports psychology. I started reading a lot of sports biographies about other athletes, and it's so funny. Like, I can't even remember how I picked up these books or why, but it was like the first book that I read was Michael Johnson, and like the fastest man alive. He's got all of these Olympic gold medals, and in '92, like, he was supposed to win. He'd been the fastest. Like, no one could run as fast as him. And he gets a stomach bug before the '92 games, and he doesn't even make the finals. It was like, for that was a huge failure for him. But he comes back in '96, and he, instead of having the 100 and 200, he has 100, 200, 400, gets gold in all of them. And it was like his little, what seemed like a failure then, made him just work so much harder. And it's not like he ended up being a failure. It was just something that he passed through. And I think that was important for me to see that summer, that it wasn't like I was a failure. It wasn't that I wasn't good enough, and it wasn't that I didn't belong. That was just where I was right there, and then I can choose where I go from there.
A few years ago, James Hobart was living in our basement, and James was Katrin's coach. So they would connect and they would Skype, and she would come over and visit and train with her coach.
He was coached by Bergeron. So that summer, I come over for like a training camp for, I think it was like 1 or 2 weeks. And that's my first time that I came to CFNE, first time I met them all. There was something about the environment here. Every time, like at the beginning, every time I left, I'd be so much fitter. And then the more I'd come here and the more often, like I say, like here I learned what really hard work is. Not just hard work, but dedication and really hard work. And then it was not just becoming a better athlete, but I worked very hard on building better characters, who in return are willing to follow a process that will lead to better athletes, but puts the character first. So yeah, that's kind of how I ended up here. And then at one point, I just asked him if he wanted not just me coming to work here, but like wanted to be my full-time coach. I was like, yeah.
So that was August 2014, right at the year that she missed the games. She had a semester left she was going to finish up a semester of school. So after that Christmas and that semester, she moved here in January of 2015. And that's the year that she went on and won the games for the first time.
I just trained, and I didn't look at myself as a professional athlete, but I trained like one. Without us kind of knowing it, we were just putting ourselves in all the right positions. And come here, and it's such a focused environment, and there's nothing else but training. And when there's not training, there's recovering. The first times that I started coming here, I would always live with the Bergerons. And I love the Bergerons. We laugh about it. I'm like their oldest kid. I love being with them.
She's 23, I'm 40, so she's 17 years younger than me. But somehow she's probably my best girlfriend. So it's kind of weird. It keeps shifting for me. Like, I go one moment from trying to watch these two and make sure that they're safe and happy and making good decisions, and then really, like, randomly I'll slip into their scene and we're watching Gossip Girl and we're like singing country music and dancing and getting yelled at by Ben because we're partying too hard, and like not partying like drinking, but like just doing like girl things.
When she moved in with us, she's a member of our family. I'm gonna treat her like a member of our family, and we call her our other daughter. She's really close with our family. So I started to coach her and treat her like I would a family member that I care about that much. And there's no way I would let one of my family members live a suboptimal life. I'm going to talk to them about everything that I'm going to talk to them about. And that just allowed us together to grow, because not only was I giving her advice of what I thought a championship approach and mindset looked like, I was witnessing it firsthand, the development of that. So she's a phenomenal person. Without me, she would have done really terrific. She showed me what drive and commitment and work ethic and passion and positivity looked like. So that just reinforced all my own core values that I thought were integral in better people equal better player.
Now for like a year, I've been running at my own place, so kind of like more like settle into my own thing here, which is important too. I mean, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for them. You know, I love my family and my friends at home in Iceland. And I mean, I've been here for years now, so I was young when I kind of moved away, and I'm in Boston by myself, and I don't think I ever would have been able to do that if it weren't for the Bergerons.
When Katrin started working with us, she was an immature 19-year-old girl. She threw tantrums in the gym and she had emotional breakdowns. She had one for the world to see at regionals, right? She cried on the floor after not being able to make the rope climbs. So we took an athlete that was really far from competitive excellence and just started layering the character traits that we expect in our athletes. People hear me talk about, or John Wooden approach, or all these other people that talk about like the building the person and building the characters and the mental toughness. I think people think about it like their approach is mental toughness means on game day, when it gets hard, I'll have the fortitude to continue to go. I can fight through the burning legs, the lactic acid in my heart trying to bunch through my ribs. That's not what it's about. It's about the mental toughness is, do you have the mental fortitude and ability to say no to the cookie on September 13th when it's just being passed around? Do you have the mental fortitude to go to bed at the right time when you're in November? Do you have the mental fortitude and day in and day out to go follow your routine all the time? Do you have the right fortitude and mental approach to stick to the process every single day? Most people can't do that because it's really freaking hard. Really hard. Here's the process. I can hand it to anybody. It's not going to matter because most people don't have the discipline, work ethic, or fortitude to follow it. Most people skip over the first step and they just try to follow. Most people skip over the whole thing and try to wait for game day and I'll be mentally tough. Too late. What I couldn't have predicted was how good of a student she was and how driven she was to be something that she wanted to be. And we're continuing to work on it. We're nowhere near where we want to be.
I learned how to work really hard. Not what people think hard work is. And it's not only, you don't go in and you do your training program. You have to do everything 100%. What you're doing right now, you got to do that so well. It's not just do the things. It's do the things so well and then move on to the next. And you do that very well and then you move on to the next. And then you do that with every single day. And whether that's a training day or not a training day, rest days aren't just not training days. You gotta be proactive with how to prepare and be ready for the next day. So it's every single day, and that's kind of what we call the process. And that year I fell in love with the process, and I was just someone that hadn't made the games, and I just wanted to make the games so bad again, and I just loved what I got to do every single day.
How we behave outside of the gym affects us mentally, not just like in recovery and like sleep and all that. Like as what's going on in your head is so important in developing as an athlete, and I think that people really miss that. You have to really try to become a better person outside of that scene, and then that will just make it second nature for you when you go to compete and train.
So I think some of the things that we focus on a lot with Ben is taking care of all the 1%. And all those 1% that maybe don't look like a lot, and it's easy for people to just look over, But those little things are a lot of things. And a lot of little things add up to big things. Sleeping, warming up well, breathing before training. I'm not gonna put nutrition in one of those little things because it matters a lot. It's one of the big things. even though I maybe didn't realize it then. I don't know if you've seen like the pyramid, like I can't remember, the fitness pyramid, and nutrition is at the bottom. It matters so much.
I was not the coach 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago than I am now. And it's simply because I've been surrounded by a world champion. And I've learned so much from her and what it takes. Together, we push ourselves both in our own professions. And it's been an incredible friendship and partnership that, I feel like it's, lucky is not the right word, but I feel like we both seized an incredible opportunity, and it was a perfect partnership for us.
I remember before leaving for the 2015 games telling Ben that I was like, I didn't even have like a finishing outcome, like a goal in mind of where I wanted to be. I just wanted to go there and do my best. And I remember telling him that I was like, regardless of my finish, I was like, I'm so happy with what we've done. And there wasn't anything I could regret. There was nothing. I felt like we'd used every single day to the best of our abilities, and I feel like we were as prepared as we could have been. And as long as I would give everything that I had at the games, I would be happy with the outcome. And to be able to walk off knowing that I didn't leave anything. And if I do that every single time, I'm going to end up after the games being happy, because there's not going to be anything that you're like, if I would have gone harder here, or if I would have done this. It's like, no, you did everything that you could. And then I remember walking onto the field before the last event. I was thinking, I was in a position to win the CrossFit Games. And I was like, I might never sit in this position again, ever. So I just gave it everything that I had. And I had talked to Ben before. I mean, he was with me in the warm-up area, and we were just going to be smart, and we were going to give it everything that we had. And I still, to this day, can't describe the feeling of when Dave Castro said my name. It still doesn't seem real. But I don't think I realized that I had the opportunity to win until I actually won. And I know a lot of people always say, like, you got to say your goals out loud, like, you got to believe it. It's not that I didn't believe it. It was just that I was so focused on everything that was in front of me, and I just loved what I did so much that I wasn't even concerned with the outcome. And somehow, when I'm focused and when I'm having fun, that's when I perform the best.